Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be talking about the five mother sauces of French cuisine. And our guest expert today is Felipe Correa, who is an engineer chef. Welcome, Felipe, and what is a mother sauce?
Hi, George, and thank you for having me. Um, a mother sauce is a basic sauce, something that you are going to use as a product that is going to be transformed some way. But before we get into how you use them, let's see what they are. The five mother sauces are the five basic building blocks of the French cuisine. Any dish that you have anywhere, restaurant or a place or a house of a friend who cooks French or whatever, is always going to have a sauce. And basically, it's going to start with one of those five mother sauces. The the evolution of these sauces is very interesting because it started around the Renaissance, in the 1500s when Catherine de Medici came to France as the queen to the French king, and she brought a lot of um, updates in terms of culinary practices to France, and that's how it started. Now, in the 19th century, there's this like one of the forefathers of the French cuisine, which is Escoffier, and he took everything that was going around and he basically boiled it down and said, okay, if you're going to cook French, you're going to always start with one of these five mother sauces, which are Espanol, which means Spanish, velouté, which means velvety, bechamel, which means it has milk in it, sauce tomate, which is basically some tomato sauce with some other things, and then hollandaise, which is basically just eggs and butter. Those are the five mother sauces.
Did you mention earlier that this is used in all French dishes, or it's just important to French cuisine?
Any any French dish that has a sauce is going to start with one of these five mother sauces to prepare that sauce. The second, which in the industry we call the secondary sauces. You always take a mother sauce. And let me give you an example, and you have done it yourself also, George. Every time you make or you prepare mac and cheese, you're using one of the five mother sauces, which is the white sauce, and then you're adding cheese to it, and that turns it into a secondary sauce, which in France is called a mornay, which is basically a white sauce made with milk, flour, and butter, to which you add cheese, and then that's how you make your mac and cheese. So every time you have mac and cheese, you are actually having one of the five mother sauces,
So, in fact,
which is the most important one.
yeah, so these sauces actually have implications in around the world.
Everywhere,
Okay.
everywhere. I mean, I don't know. My basic training is French cuisine, but I also cook some other kind of different cuisines like Spanish, Italian, Chilean, Mexican, American, Thai, Japanese, Chinese. I mean, Moroccan, which I love, but everywhere
Okay.
in some dish, in any cuisine, there are going to be some dishes that you are going to use the mother sauces. Like, for example, in the Creole cuisine from New Orleans or the South, it's basically you use the mother sauces for most of those dishes. If you jambalaya or gumbo, it's one of those mother sauces. That's why they're called mother sauces, because without you even knowing it, you're using it everywhere, and that's the beauty of the system.
Very good. And these other sauces you're mentioning, like for instance in mac cheese and jambalaya, would these be called daughter sauces?
Well, they're called secondary sauces.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Every time you use a mother sauce to produce another one, it's called a secondary sauce, and there's infinite variations.
Okay.
The French, they take a mother sauce. For example, they take bechamel, and as I said, they add cheese, and now it's not bechamel anymore. It's called mornay. And then if you take, for example, a velouté and you add some capers, it's going to have another fancy name, but basically it's just uh, the creativeness of the chef who's using those mother sauces on how to achieve the flavor profile that you want for the dish.
Now, for someone who's watching this who may be a casual chef, or maybe just someone who's interested in getting more adventurous with their cooking, is there one of these sauces that might be easier to approach for the first time than the others?
I would say there's two of them. Or, well, yeah, the third one is it's sort of like if you really like to cook and you have a little bit of experience, you can do it. The most commonly used ones are the bechamel, which is the white sauce. That's all over the place in America. Every gravy, you know, when you have gravy, that's if you don't add milk, if you just add the pan juices and some stock, some chicken stock or some vegetable stock, that's a velouté.
Okay.
So everybody uses them. You just don't know that. The same thing with the bechamel. I mentioned there's so many dishes that you use this white sauce in American cuisine, like the mac and cheese. And yes, so that it's easy. Why? Because it's easy to prepare. Preparing, the only difference between a velouté and a bechamel is that the bechamel is with milk, and the velouté you use a stock, a white stock.
Okay.
So you have your roux, which is, you know, roux is flour plus butter. In the South, you cannot prepare gumbo if you don't know how to make a roux, because that's the basic for the dish. And then you just continue from there doing it. So it's easy, and everybody, I'm pretty sure that everybody's done them, has used them. You can actually buy them already in cans or in powder form and just add water and milk. So everybody's been using them for a long time. It's just that nobody has taken the opportunity to actually explain to them that what they're using is one of the 5 mother sauces. And that's why they are called the mother sauces, because you use them for everything.
Very good. Now, out of these 5, for someone who was interested in making them from scratch, is there one or two of them that would be the most challenging?
I would say the most challenging one is the Hollandaise, because you're mixing raw egg with hot butter. And sometimes it curdles and you end up with just some scrambled eggs, which is not the idea. So anytime you have to make an emulsion, an emulsion is trying to get together 2 chemical components that normally don't go together, like water and oil.
Yeah.
Which in this case, it would be the yolk and the butter. If you don't do it right, and if you're not careful, you end up with a mess, and it's still edible, but it doesn't look nice. It's sort of because it's curdled, you know. So that's the most challenging one. The Hollandaise, definitely. Every time you go to brunch and you have eggs Benedict, you're having Hollandaise sauce.
Right. Okay.
Okay, because it would not be eggs Benedict if it wasn't covered with a lot of this Hollandaise sauce. And so that's why some people who like that are used to making it at home. Now there's shortcuts, and then you can also buy it ready and all that. But there's nothing like taking the ingredients, which is just the egg yolks, some lemon juice, and some clarified butter, and making it yourself. It's a chore, it's difficult, but the result has nothing to do with what you can buy out there. That's the beauty of the system.
And in regards to all the sauces in general, there's probably some basic recipes that go back a few hundred years, but I think when you're talking about how it's evolved over time, would it be fair to say that anyone can take these recipes and make it their own and experiment with it?
Well, that's what a chef does. You know, I prepare a bechamel, and then depending on what I'm going to use it's what I add, and how I look for a flavor profile to go with what I'm serving.
Okay.
Now there are classical dishes that you don't want to mess with, but nowadays, you know, especially with all the molecular gastronomy and all that, there's ample space to be creative and to do crazy things. Okay, but if you're going to go with a classic dish, you're going to do it the classical way, and you're going to try to achieve the classic flavor profile that's supposed to be the signature of that dish.
Very good. All right, Felipe. Well, we're out of time here. I want to thank you very much for going over the five the five mother sauces of French cuisine with us. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to wrap things up here. This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.